reinforce this normal mode, and you get this resonance, you get this really strong sloshing. That's what happens in the Bay of Fundy, for instance. Well, now you put a dam across it, and you're changing dynamically the character, the structure of your bay, of your estuary. That can change the normal mode character, and you may not get the same size tides after the dam is in. The tide range may not be what it was before the dam was there. Now, even worse, or I shouldn't say even worse, but even more intriguing is once you've changed the normal mode character of your estuary, that change will affect the tides in the neighboring domain.
They were going to block off a good section of the Bay of Fundy, but the Bay of Fundy is sort of a resonance basin, and the geometry of the basin is a resonance just below the tidal frequency, and by blocking off the northern end of it slightly, they detuned it. And one of the consequences of tuning it is moving it slightly towards the tidal frequencies, which means you should get a bigger tide. And the implication of that is, like Boston might have a 6-inch higher tide.
Can you imagine the litigation that would occur from the increased shoreline erosion if the Canadians put a dam in the Bay of Fundy and then you get stronger erosion in Boston? So there are some pitfalls to doing it.
Whether or not the tides can be utilized as a reliable, widespread source of energy remains unclear. But most scientists believe that the dissipation of tidal energy is perhaps the single most important aspect of the entire tidal process.
One of the most important questions in modern tidal study is the question of where the energy goes. That is an important question because of the uncertainty in the mixing, the transport of heat through the ocean. And all of this is related to the question of climate change and the impacts of warming, future warming, and how that warming is distributed.
The potential is huge for the importance of tides and these other processes. And we're just at the beginning of looking at that. Well, we're asking basic questions now. What are the processes, what are the mechanisms of internal tide generation? How much energy is really flowing from the main sea level rise and fall of the tides, what we call the barotropic tides?
One of the important questions is how the ocean mixes, and intimately related with that is how the tidal energy gets dissipated and where that energy ultimately goes, what the mechanisms are for that transfer from the surface motions into internal motions and ultimately dissipation to heat. So that's one of the aspects that has reinvigorated this very, very old question, very old study and interest in tides.